a contagious virus known as ID7 or red eye, is currently spreading across the globe. This virus elevates stress hormone levels, blocks neural pathways, and diminishes inhibitions, prompting those affected to impulsively commit reckless or violent acts without remorse. The first known case of ID7 was reported 18 months ago in Iowa, where an infected individual brutally murdered a coworker by stabbing him repeatedly in the face. Since then, more than 1,000 cases have been recorded worldwide. However, health organizations are confident that enforced quarantines will effectively eradicate the virus by year's end. Although ID7 is not fatal, it significantly impairs the infected individual's self-control. One morning, Derek arrives at the office and interrupts Oswald, who is yelling at the receptionist. He confronts Oswald with a video of him in a compromising situation with a coworker from last year's Christmas party, threatening to expose it to Oswald's wife unless he leaves the receptionist alone. Humiliated, Oswald departs. Afterward, Derek returns to his office, only to become upset upon discovering his favorite mug is missing. He asks his assistant to locate it, but instead, he's informed of an urgent phone call. Derek grows even more irritated after the call with his sister, who invites him to her birthday and reminds him of his neglected painting hobby, which he dismissively declines, prioritizing his work. Later, he meets with Melanie, a client needing a loan extension to settle her debts. Unfortunately, the case is handled by Irene, a firm partner, leaving Derek powerless to influence the decision. He ends up calling security to escort Melanie out. Soon after, Derek unknowingly drinks water contaminated with the ID7 virus. Shortly, the receptionist informs him that his superiors, Jan and his assistant Kara, are blaming him for mishandling the Vonnecourt case. Angered and confused since it's not his client, Derek seeks an explanation. Concurrently, Oswald, who has contracted the virus, ominously watches the receptionist while scratching his infected eye. In a heated confrontation in the elevator with Kara, Derek learns she has claimed his favorite mug and accuses her of setting him up. Kara counters with evidence showing Vonnecourt is indeed Derek's responsibility. Unable to resolve their dispute, they agree to consult John, exchanging insults throughout the elevator ride. In John's office, Derek argues that Kara's repeated failures make her the issue, suggesting she should be dismissed. John considers Derek's argument but asks him to step outside to discuss further with Kara. Feeling defeated, Derek visits his coworker Ewan, who believes Derek exacerbated the situation by confronting John without a strategy. Their conversation is abruptly cut off by Kara, who informs Derek he's been fired. Enraged by her betrayal and convinced of her affair with John to secure her position, Derek vows to appeal to the board. Kara mocks him as she too shows signs of the infection. The board soon ratifies Derek's firing, and he is then coerced by Lester, the HR head, to sign a severance agreement admitting fault in the Vonnecourt case, which he refuses, risking his career and potential disbarment. Unmoved, Lester dismisses him from the building. As CDC agents and a SWAT team encircle the building, they announce a quarantine due to the detection of the virus inside. Inside the lobby, panic ensues among the employees as the board members confer with the CDC team leader, who explains a neutralizing agent will be released into the ventilation system, eradicating the virus in 8 hours. The leader emphasizes the importance of staying calm to prevent violence. However, the board is primarily concerned with the financial loss from employees not working for 8 hours. John, in frustration, slams a golf club on the table and declares that anyone shirking work will be fired. Below, Oswald's irritation, exacerbated by the virus, leads him to attack Derek. In response, Derek, also under the virus's influence, stabs Oswald in the foot and begins to assault him. Yoon intervenes, trying to calm Derek, who, after punching another employee, is pushed against the wall by Yoon. Yoon advises Derek to stay in his office until the virus subsides. Derek feigns agreement, but once Yoon turns away, he heads for the elevator, dodging the escalating chaos. In mere minutes, the office descends into violent disorder over trivial disagreements. Derek asks the elevator operator for access to the board's office, but under strict instructions, the operator sends him to an abandoned floor instead. There, Derek is confronted by John's personal security team, led by Colton, known as the Bull. Colton confiscates Derek's phone and physically assaults him, then calls John to mock Derek's plea for his job back. As the beating continues, Yoon arrives to help Derek but is overpowered by the trained security and fatally injured when his head is impaled on a nail. John remains indifferent, aware that any actions within the next 8 hours can be attributed to the virus, thus exempting them from arrest. Mourning Yoon, Derek is further assaulted by Colton and knocked unconscious. When he awakens, he finds himself facing Melanie, who is still upset over his earlier refusal to assist her. Their argument quickly escalates into a physical confrontation. However, realizing their common grievances against the company, Derek proposes they unite against their employer. Melanie agrees, and Derek hastily assembles a makeshift phone from old parts to contact Frank, the CEO of Vonda Corporation. During the call, which includes the board and a cocaine-distracted John, Derek exposes the mishandling of the Vonda Corp case, vindicating himself. Enraged by the deceit, Frank announces his company will sever ties with John's firm, a significant loss as Vonda is their biggest client. Furious, John orders his henchmen to kill Derek. When they arrive on the abandoned floor, Melanie creates a diversion, allowing Derek to overpower them with pent-up fury, killing them. He then retrieves their keys to access a tool shed, arming himself and Melanie. Their goal is revenge against the board, but they need a high-level keycard as the elevator operator won't cooperate. Meanwhile, in his office, Lester tries to maintain his composure by tending to his bonsai, only to destroy it in frustration. Overwhelmed by the chaos, he exits his office just as Melanie shoots a nail at him, which he deflects with his cane before retreating and barricading himself inside. Two guards then subdue Melanie with a taser, prompting Derek to distract them with a card and escape. While evading violent coworkers, Derek ambushes another guard, using a screwdriver and a file in a lethal attack. As Melanie manages to kick a nail gun towards him, Derek uses it to fire at Lester, who narrowly escapes back into his office. Derek and Melanie burst into Lester's office, demanding the keycard and threatening his life if he doesn't comply. Lester places the card on his desk, but as Derek reaches for it, Lester stabs his hand with scissors, pinning him to the desk, then tackles Melanie to the ground. Spectators at the door place bets on the outcome as they watch Lester attempt to shoot Melanie with a nail gun, while she dodges the nails. Derek reminds Melanie that she has a saw, which she then uses to kill Lester. Afterward, Melanie removes the scissors to free Derek and fires at the onlookers to clear their path. Derek then prints some files and directs Melanie to film him as he articulates how he used the virus as a defense in his previous case, concluding his speech by setting a fire. They send the video to the board as a warning of their impending arrival. Terrified, Jan calls Kara, urging her to destroy her keycard for security, initially resistant because it serves as her leverage. She agrees when John promises her a partnership. However, after the call, Kara instructs her assistant Meg to hide the keycard securely. Meanwhile, John, seeking assistance, contacts the CDC team leader while indulging in drugs. Called out for his behavior, John angrily smashes the screen and declares a bounty of 150 grand on Derek, which Irene suggests should be raised to 450 grand due to its lethal intent. With only 4 hours left before the virus dissipates, Derek and Melanie use Lester's keycard to reach Kara's floor, encountering violent resistance from other employees. They confront Kara, who is guarded by a makeshift security team. Ignoring a call from the CDC psychologist urging negotiation, Derek has Melanie blast loud music and offers Kara's guards a chance to leave, which they decline. A brutal fight ensues, with the virus fueling their ferocity as they use various tools and even a fire extinguisher to fend off attackers. They finally make it to Kara's office, where Derek places the scissors on the table as a subtle threat while demanding the top-floor keycard. Kara proposes a truce, but Derek refuses, prompting her to smash his cherished mug to provoke him further. Although enraged, Derek refrains from killing her when she mentions that she is the only one who can retrieve the keycard. They agree on a ceasefire, and Kara sends Meg to fetch the card. However, Meg returns with a charred piece of plastic, explaining that John had anticipated Kara's betrayal and had bribed her with a promotion to destroy the keycard. An argument ensues between Kara and Meg, culminating in Meg fatally stabbing Kara with the scissors. Derek and Melanie then send John a grisly video of Kara's severed tongue as proof of her demise. Unable to proceed without the keycard, they take a moment to regroup. Derek shares the sentimental value of his mug, a gift from his sister to celebrate his job acceptance. He also reviews Melanie's paperwork and realizes that a simple signature from a board member could resolve her issues. Acknowledging his prior neglect, Derek apologizes to Melanie. Their emotional state is further intensified by the virus when Derek receives a video from John desecrating Ewan's corpse, leading Derek to break down in tears, remembering Ewan's children. The shared grief leads to an impulsive, intimate encounter between Derek and Melanie. Afterward, Derek receives an update that only bosses can use the elevator. Seizing the opportunity, he and Melanie coerce Ray, the IT guy, to hack into Irene's computer. Ray, harboring resentment towards Irene, willingly sabotages her system and deceives her into installing a malicious file disguised as a software patch, which allows him to steal all her data. He saves the stolen data on a hard drive, which Derek uses to lure Irene into a trap by promising to return it, prompting a desperate Irene to seek the elusive keycard from John. Assured by Irene that the chosen meeting location was secure, which was also where Colton had hidden his gun, Derek and Melanie meet with Irene in a secluded office. Derek confirms Irene isn't armed before they begin negotiations. When Irene reaches under the table and finds nothing, Derek reveals he's already secured the gun. He uses it to compel Irene to surrender the keycard. Then Melanie demands she sign her paperwork. Irene counters that she could later claim insanity due to the virus, rendering her signature void. Enraged, Melanie smashes the hard drive with a hammer and asks Derek to leave. As Derek tries to exit, Colton slams him with the door. Concurrently, Irene attacks Melanie, and Derek's attempt to retaliate against Colton fails as Colton overpowers him and starts a beating. Colton then fires the gun at random objects, declaring bullets cowardly before switching to brass knuckles. Derek dodges a punch and stabs Colton with a screwdriver, which doesn't faze Colton, who then throws Derek to the ground. Colton attempts to use pepper spray on Derek, who catches it in his mouth and spits it back into Colton's eyes to escape. With his mouth burning, Derek rushes to the water cooler. Meanwhile, Melanie hits Irene with a glass and seizes an opportunity to grab her hammer. But before she can strike, Irene reveals the keycard needs an access code. Derek returns, demanding the code, and Irene proposes a trade, the code for Melanie. With only 25 minutes of quarantine left, Derek punches Melanie and ties her to a chair. As Irene prepares her torture tools, Derek kisses Melanie, secretly removing bolts from the chair to free her. Irene enters the password in the elevator, but before the doors close, Derek smiles, revealing the bolts. Freed, Melanie kills Irene with the hammer. As Derek heads to the top floor, he reflects on his struggles, entering the boardroom bloodied. The board greets him with applause and champagne. John offers a partnership, listing tempting benefits including illicit enticements, but Derek declines. A secretary attacks him with broken glass. Derek dodges, and another secretary is accidentally killed. John then attacks Derek with a golf club after blinding him with powder. Derek counters, using a shard of his broken mug to overpower John. With just 90 seconds left of quarantine, Derek forces a board vote, resulting in John's fatal expulsion from the building. Derek then convinces the remaining board to rehire him, but upon reflection of his sister's advice about being consumed by his job, he accepts John's position, signs Melanie's paperwork, and resigns. Following the tumult, the CDC announces a breakthrough vaccine thanks to the firm's chaos. Derek returns to painting, expressing his ordeal through his art, with Melanie supporting him and joining his classes.